I'm Andrielle Mylan, this is Live Well with Elle, and on this channel I do things like product review videos, how-to videos, and really just all things to help you live well and live your best life. So if you're interested in that kind of content, then please feel free to subscribe to my channel so you can follow along on this journey. And please join the community. I'm thrilled to have you, and without further ado, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of the Live Well with Elle podcast. I'm your host, Andrielle, and if you are watching on YouTube, then you can see that I am in a different background. I have a different background. That is because I did, in fact, leave that narcissist. So I figured today we can make this episode about, I wanted to go over the general traits of the narcissist, what a narcissist is, and just go over the general things, because I feel like last time my last episode, I was in the midst of trying to get away from that narcissist, and I was just really in a fog. And I honestly didn't intend on making this channel or podcast or any of this about narcissism. I really just wanted to make this about living well, just things to live well, eating well, diet, exercise, just being healthy, living well, really. That's what I intended to do with this, starting this Live Well with Elle. But, life is crazy, and sometimes it just takes us down a different path and a different direction. And I feel like everything in life is always meant for us to learn and grow from. So that's what I figured, if I could make this content and help other people out there, then really that's my goal, and nothing would make me happier than to help other people get through whatever situation you're in. And if that might be with a narcissist, then hopefully you find this content helpful and this content is for you. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you watching. And if you feel compelled to subscribe, then please, I encourage you to do so, as long as you do find this content helpful. That's really my goal. My goal is really just to bring value to you. So I hope that you find this helpful. And so I guess we'll just go ahead and get into it. Basically, so I made some notes here too. So if you see me look down, or, I'm just referring to my notes if you're watching this on YouTube. But basically, the number one thing that I wished I realized the reality in trying to get out of my situation. It's like you feel like you're just in this fog and you're lying to yourself. It's like I found myself just lying to myself about what the situation was and what was really going on. And I was making excuses for him and myself. I was making excuses for the situation because it was just hard to accept the fact that you're in a narcissistic relationship and you're being abused. And it might not always be physically, but it's definitely emotional and mental abuse. It is abuse. So that's what I wished I realized, was just the reality of the situation, and that I'd quit lying to myself, because it took me months. It took me months to realize what kind of situation I was in. It took me months to figure out that I was, in fact, dealing with a covert narcissist, because I don't know if you've seen my other content, but this was my second round with a narcissist. My first narcissist was an overt, grandiose narcissist, my ex-husband. And so he really never did do, I'll get into this here in a little bit, but he never did do the love bombing with me. So I hadn't experienced that before. That was something new that I experienced with the covert narcissist. So that was a new thing for me. But so there were just two different kinds of narcissists. So it was hard for me to realize that the second one, the covert narcissist, it was so hard for me to realize that he was a narcissist. And so I went back and forth for months about it, because I'm like, he has a lot of the narcissistic traits, but then in other ways it just doesn't match, and he's so different than my ex-husband was. So finally, I ended up, there was content started popping up about the covert narcissist, and that's how I started learning more about that. So I'll get into that more here too in a second. But yeah, it's like I just wished I realized the reality of the situation and just knew sooner that I needed to get out, and I should have left when my first instincts were kicking in, telling me that something wasn't right, which still took longer than I would have liked it to, because that's what covert is. They're better at hiding things. They're sneakier, more manipulative, more subtle. So, and it's because they're just not going to change. They're not who you thought they were. And, they're going to love bomb you. And they're wearing a mask because they're just full of shame and insecurity. So they're wearing a mask. And they can't keep that up forever, though. Their mask will start slipping and you'll start seeing who they are. And when that happens, they are going to start the devaluing phase. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me just calm down here, okay? See, there's so much. It's just a lot. So that's why I had to make notes so I can try to stay on track here with my notes, okay? So just bear with me. So basically, let me get into talking about what a covert narcissist is and why they're different than the overt grandiose narcissist, which I was so lucky to experience with my husband, my first narcissist. So I got out of that relationship with my husband, went through a divorce, and then probably maybe 4 months later, I met the covert narcissist. And, I really wasn't looking. I was really happy just being single and having my apartment and I felt like a huge weight lifted off when I left my overt grandiose narcissist, a huge weight lifted off. And I was really just enjoying my life, enjoying my friends, enjoying being single, enjoying my solitude and alone time. Honestly, that was one of my favorite things to do, was just sit in my apartment with my, I had the aura was just calming, and my candles, and just calm, relaxing environment. That was one of my favorite things to do. But I ended up going on a trip and meeting the covert narcissist, and he just honestly swept me off my feet. And I thought I had finally found my perfect match and my perfect person, as a narcissist will lead you to believe that you've met your match, your perfect match, and they love to do future faking and love bombing. And I've made a little bit of content on that, but let's stick with what a covert narcissist is here, okay? Sorry, getting sidetracked, but so the covert narcissist, they're harder to detect, okay? And they're very passive aggressive, not like the overt narcissist that is just very in your face, confrontational. They love confrontation. My ex-husband was just constantly poking at me to get a reaction, because he loved confrontation with not just me, but everyone around him. I mean, it was to the point he basically had no one left, no friends left, hardly any family left. Sorry. Because he would literally fight with everyone. He would get into fights with everyone because, he thought he was the smartest thing, the greatest thing, like he just was God's gift, okay? So anyways, with the covert narcissist, they're much harder to detect because they are passive aggressive and subtle and quiet. They don't like confrontation. They almost seem humble, okay? They seem almost humble, but it's because they're always the victim, or they're always playing the victim, or they're always in a crisis, okay? They have a very negative outlook on life. And, just nothing ever works out for them. It's always kind of like a woe is me. And they might have moments where they pretend to be positive or optimistic. But when you're truly a true optimistic person at heart, you can see and hear the negativity from people when they speak negativity, because it's just two different frames of mind. Because when you're really an optimistic person at heart, you really do see the best in everyone. And I feel like that's a huge way that I've changed just in my outlook on life. Not that I don't see the best in people still, but I'm definitely going to be much more cautious going forward. I'm not just going to assume everyone's wonderful, good people. Like there are not good people out there. And dealing with a narcissist, you will find that out. But sadly, if you've had to go through it, and not just a narcissist, but there's toxic people out there. And I've encountered plenty of those, and a lot of my family have been toxic, which I feel like I did talk about that a little, but that's a huge part of where I have learned to set boundaries, and just boundaries are huge, which a narcissist will never understand. They will always be pushing your boundaries, testing your boundaries, and that's one of the things you really need to make sure in the beginning, because this is where you need to make sure you have good, strong boundaries in the beginning and just take your time. But I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself again. So sorry, let's get back to basically the covert narcissist. Okay, they're just passive aggressive, always in a crisis, very negative outlook. Nothing's ever their fault. Okay, so, and then also the other thing I found just different was that they have friends. They might have friends. They might have a lot of friends, but they're just very shallow, surface level friendships. Okay. They're not deep, intellectual friendships. They're very shallow friendships and a lot of the time with the covert narcissist, no one even realizes or knows that they are a narcissist, because the only person that does know is the person that's at home dealing with the abuse. So it's very hard for even their friends or anyone around them to see what kind of a person they truly are. But when you're the person at home, and that's why too, it's almost hard for you to believe, because it's like, it didn't start out this way, which is the love bombing, but it didn't start out this way. And you just think they're such a great person and they're a great guy everywhere else to everyone else. And it's like, maybe you are just being too sensitive, or maybe, but it's like, no, you have to look at the facts. And that's what I meant from the beginning, is you have to realize the reality. You have to realize the facts. And the facts are, you've caught them lying, you've caught them cheating, and not just one time, multiple times. And it's like every time you turn around, as soon as you feel like you maybe can let your guard down, because maybe they do seem sorry this time, maybe things will change and get better. As soon as you start to let your guard down and thinking things could go back to normal like they were in the beginning, that's when you'll catch them doing the next effed up shit. Okay. Sorry. I don't know what we can say on here or not, but basically that's it. You're going to catch them doing the next screwed up crap. Okay. So yeah. All right. Now we'll talk about the phases. So there's basically 4 phases of the narcissistic cycle. So it's the idealization / love bombing phase. Okay. And this is where they put you on a pedestal and love bomb you and shower you with affection and attention and adoration. Okay. So that's the beginning. And then it moves into the devaluing. And then there's the discard. And then there's the Hoover, which with a narcissist, I really do think it's true that, so I've watched the T on NPD with Telsha, and she's great, and she talks a lot about that. Really, with a narcissist, there really is no true discard phase, because they never can really afford to lose you as a supply. So it's really going to be up to you to do the final discard, because they will never lose someone as a supply. They're always looking for supply. They always want supply. They always want more supply. So, and that's another reason they have a hard time getting rid of their exes, because they can't lose that supply. So that's what she talks about a lot, but she's a great channel to watch and follow. So I recommend following her if you need to binge watch some content. And also Sinful, Synful, she's great as well. You should follow her she's big on Facebook, TikTok. She's got a YouTube. I think she does more like Facebook and TikTok things, but she's really good. And I can post a video separate about the accounts that I've learned from. But yeah, those are good people to follow. And so then there's the Hoover phase. So there's idealization / love bombing, devalue, discard, and hoover, which is like the vacuum cleaner, where they come back to hoover you back into the vicious cycle. Because like we said, there really is no true discard, but we can get into that a little later. But like the discard phase really kind of goes with the devaluing, where they're kind of done and ready for a new supply, and they're going to like be done with you, but they're never really going to be done with you. So really it's all in the devaluing. So, but the idealization is where in the love bombing, which is something, like I said, I did not experience with my first narcissist. I didn't experience the love bombing. So, but so basically it's where they put you on a pedestal and like they think you are this perfect person. Okay. Like they really do believe, I think that they met their match also in the beginning, because they think you're this perfect person and they do think you're perfect together. But it's like as soon as they see you as not perfect, or maybe as soon as you try to hold them accountable for something, or just something doesn't go right, just something does not go right, because it's a relationship. And of course, you're going to have conflict. And of course, you know, there's going to be issues because you're two separate people sharing a life together. So people do things different. You know, which really, in my case, it's like I really didn't feel like anything was ever worth arguing about, even though sometimes I feel like he would blow things up, which he used to tell me I made mountains out of molehills, which is funny because that's actually what he did. But that's another thing they do, is turn everything around on you. Everything they're doing. Sorry. Hang on. Everything they're doing is basically what they accuse you of doing. So that's another thing they do. So yeah, they think that you're this perfect person. They put you on this pedestal. And when they see that, you know, you're not this perfect person, that's when the devaluing will start. Because, you know, it's a relationship. Of course, you're not going to see eye to eye all the time. But for me, in my case, it's like I never felt like anything really was worth fighting about. I'm like, it's really not a big deal. Like nothing is a big deal. We love each other. I'm not bickering with you over silly, silly little things. Like I'm not bickering about the dishes or the dishwasher or the food that needed thrown out or whatever, you know. It's like I'm not getting into silly arguments. Like I'm really just happy we're together and I cherish our time together. And that's really where I was at with it. Like I'm over the petty BS, you know. I'm just over it. I just ready to find my person, but that's okay. Have to go through some toads, I guess, but you know, everything's a learning experience. And I feel like too, we are given these narcissists in our lives because, you know, we allow it. It's not like, and this is part of why you know you're not a narcissist, because you take accountability. You self-reflect. You can look at yourself and realize where you need to do some inner work and where you have things you can work on that, you know, you can improve, which a narcissist cannot do. So it's like, I feel like these narcissists, we go through them because we have things we need to learn about ourselves and things that we need to work on within ourselves. So it's just part of the lesson. It's part of just growing in this life and our journey in life. So, you know, again, just trying to have a positive outlook on life and just knowing that really everything does happen for a reason, and you just have to learn from it and grow from it. So, okay, so we talked about the love bombing, putting on the pedestal, and so then you get into the devaluing. So this is a lot. This can be a lot. There's so many ways. I have lists of ways that he tried to devalue me and, you know, attempted to devalue me. And he was getting me to the point where I was just questioning, like, you know, being insecure. They make you insecure, but it's because they're constantly cheating on you and putting you in positions to be insecure, or using triangulation, that's where they put you in a position to be insecure by using other people and manipulating you against other people. Like just making subtle little comments about basically saying this person's better, that person's better. Even saying how, oh, oh, so-and-so, his ex, oh, they're not a bad person, even though literally everyone will tell you, everyone, the family members, the friends all said this ex is batshit crazy, okay? But no, he'll sit there and defend her and say, no, no, no. And it's like, I don't even know why it comes up. Like, why do these things even come up? Like the past, because they can't get rid of the past, because I'm trying to move forward and have a future. But somehow we're always stuck in the past and we never can move forward because the narcissist can't let go of their past because they can't let go of any of their supply. So anyways, there's just so much that comes with the devaluing. And it's like, too, it starts to happen slowly over time. It's not like, obviously, they don't just start off devaluing you. It's subtle little comments. It starts as a subtle little comment. It starts as just something small, over time, and it gets worse and more often and more severe over time. But it doesn't start off this way, or none of us would put up with that, right? So, no, they're very methodical. Very thought out. Everything they do, they've been doing this for years. Everything they do, they know what they're doing. They know what works. They're master manipulators, okay? They know what they're doing. So, let's see. Okay, so Dr. Ramani, she says the devaluing, it can start between 6 weeks to 6 months. So, I feel like he probably started maybe early, like I wouldn't even say 4 months. I would say maybe 5 to 6 months, really. It took a while. Like, it really took a while for me to start seeing and him to start showing. But it took even longer than that. And it took a year for me to get away. And at about maybe 9 months, I really could start seeing like something is really wrong here. Something's really wrong here. This isn't right. This isn't how you treat someone that you say you love, just isn't right. So yeah, they will just devalue you in so many ways. And they're always, like I said before, always testing to see where they can push you and where they can push your boundaries. And they like control. This is another big thing. The narcissist's big thing is control. And this is something else I wish I could have seen sooner. I wish I could have seen this sooner, because in the beginning, people could see this. People could see it, that he was controlling. And they would tell me, oh, it sounds like he likes control. It sounds like he likes to have control. And I just thought, yeah, maybe with some things, I don't know. I just didn't think it was a big deal. I wrote it off. I just thought, yeah, I guess maybe with some things. Or I thought him wanting to know where I was or talk to me all the time, because that's what they do, because they're conditioning you. They'll text you all the time. They want to FaceTime you all the time. They want to know what you're doing all the time, in the beginning. And then it's like, once they know they have you, or you move in with them and live with them, and then they can just disappear whenever they want for hours. But the other thing is, too, it's like they want praise for just being a basic, like giving basic human decency. They want all the praise and adoration for that, because one of his favorite sayings was, well, you're here, aren't you? Or I'm coming home to you, aren't you? Or aren't I? And it's like, okay, like that's what you should be doing. So why do I need to praise you for that? Like, they just want praise for the simplest, littlest, basic human decency things. So that's another thing that they do. So if you notice that, But so yeah, they like control. And they project. They project. Basically, if they're accusing you of doing something, they're probably doing it. And I can think of a couple specific instances. Okay, like one time, so he had went to the doctor for something, okay, a checkup or whatever. So he was in the parking lot, and we shared location. And that's another reason I was so confused, is because everything was just flowing so smoothly until the point where the devaluing started, okay? Which was probably about 6 or 8 months in, maybe even. It probably started subtly at 6 months, and by 8 to 9 months, it was bad, okay? So we were sharing location by this time, and so he was sitting in the parking lot, I noticed, at a Publix for a long time, because I'm like, what's taking him so long? He should have been done with his appointment by now. So of course I just check like on his location, like what's going on. And of course I'm not thinking he's doing anything, because why would he share location? He really hadn't shown any signs too much that I was red flagged, But I'm just like, what's taking him so long? So I check his location. He's sitting in a Publix parking lot, and he's just sitting there for a while. And I'm like, what is he doing? He didn't call me. He hadn't texted me. I'm just like, what's he doing? And then finally, he ends up calling way later. Okay. I'm just like, whatever. He said he was at Publix getting a script. I'm just like, okay. But I could see he was sitting out in the parking lot for a while. I just thought that was weird. So then maybe like a month later, I was out shopping. Going in and out of stores. I feel like it was around the holidays. I was getting Christmas presents and stuff. So I was going in and out of stores to my car, putting stuff in the car, back to the store, And it was a little strip mall thing. So I was just going in and out. So then he calls me when I'm at my car, and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, well, it looks like you've been sitting in your car for a long time. What are you doing? Sitting there talking to another guy? So he's accusing me of talking to another guy. So when he does that, of course, it all clicks for me and takes me back to that moment where he was, in fact, sitting in the parking lot, I'm sure talking to the new supply that he had just hired at his work, which I found out later that's who he was basically having a side fling with, or whatever he was doing, obviously just inappropriate and disgusting and just ridiculous. But my point is, they project. So basically whatever they're accusing you of. Oh, and another thing, one more thing, let's just get into this, the bathroom thing. I mean, the narcissist in the bathroom, the narcissist and taking their phone to the bathroom. I mean, come on. How often do you really need to go to the bathroom that much, always with your phone for such a long time? It's like, really, and so that was just another thing. And then one day, he even tried to bust in on me in the bathroom, accusing me of texting other people while I'm in the bathroom. So really, that just confirmed to me yet again that that's really what he was doing all that time, So it's just a lot. It's a lot, guys, and probably you'll need therapy well after the narcissistic relationship is over. Even though it does feel like a huge weight lifted off, there's still a lot that needs to go into processing and understanding why you picked that narcissist and why you allowed that narcissist in your life to break your boundaries the way you did. And just because they do say that narcissists love empaths. They love empaths because they see something in you that they don't have. That's why they choose basically their victims, is because they see something in their victim or in you that they are lacking. And so they'll just move through supply, whether it's, for money or for looks or whatever, which, I'm pretty sure that's just what they do. They just go through and pick you based on the things that they lack within themselves. And so, empaths are loving people, caring people. But it's we also have to look inside ourselves and do the inner work for ourselves to see, why do we keep allowing these narcissists in our lives and ending up with these narcissists. So I'm hoping and praying this is my last encounter. 2 is more than enough. Now that I've experienced an overt and a covert, that's more than enough for me. So let's see some of my notes here. I feel like we're running kind of long, so I'm going to try to wrap up with my notes here, and then if I need to finish some of this in another episode, I'll do that. But so basically, okay, we were talking about they like control, they project, and so they will criticize you. This is part of the devaluing. These are little things they'll do during the devaluing. So they'll criticize you. They'll insult you. They will constantly complain, and you feel like you're just walking on eggshells and nothing is ever good enough. And so, like they just don't care. They really don't care about anything but themselves and their image. But, the criticizing and the insulting, constant complaining, you just feel like you're walking on eggshells. The criticizing, I have so many examples of all of these things. Like I could write books basically from all the criticism and just insults, blatantly calling other girls hot, like right in front of me, to like, just, are you insane? Like, are you that rude? And just, it's just, and that's part of the triangulation. That's part of triangulation. That's where they try to make you feel insecure by like using other people to make you feel insecure. And it's just really gross. I hate thinking about it now. Now that I'm out of it, I honestly hate thinking about and going back to the torture, basically. Like, it's just abuse. But so another thing I noticed too is like he never cared anything about my family or me or my life or what was going on with me. He didn't want to know anything about my life or my family. Like anytime I talk about what was going on with my family or my mom or my dad, he really wasn't interested. And it's like, but I was expected to just come completely be a part of his life and know all about his situation. And that's another reason why I felt so confused, is because he took me, but I'm learning more about like grade A supply. So I was like his main grade A supply because he took me and made me such a part of his world. All his friends, all his family, everyone knew me, like everyone knew we were a thing. Like everyone knew. And so that was just another thing that made it hard for me to accept that he just wasn't really the man I thought he was, because you don't continuously lie and cheat on the person you love, not to mention all these other things that narcissists do. Criticize, insult, just be rude and say hateful, rude things to me, like just rude things. And I'll get into that in another episode maybe, but it's hard for me. I'm going to have to be in the right place mentally to go back through the terrible things he said and did. But okay, and then just the passive aggressiveness, like this is just an example of him being passive aggressive, but like he would accuse me if I was off work, he would accuse me of like eating bonbons all day and like say, oh, it must be nice, But in reality, I was taking care of him, the house, his giant dogs that were like dinosaurs, okay? I was taking care of him, running his errands. He asked me to run his dry cleaning. He asked me to clean out the fireplaces even in the beginning, which is something that I said no to because I'm like, is this a joke? Like, are you kidding me? Why would you ask me that? Like, do you think I'm not doing enough? Like, that was just crazy to me. That was something in the beginning that should have been more of a red flag to me. But I said no because I'm like, what? Like, that was just so weird to me. Clean out the fireplace. Just strange, Strange things, strange requests. Testing. They're testing and pushing, trying to push your boundaries, So, sorry, but that was another way he would just like be passive aggressive. Just, must be nice to sit around and eat bonbons all day. When really I'm taking care of him, the house, his dogs. Like even when he'd complain if I didn't work, but then complain if I did, When I would be at work, then he'd be like, oh, call in, because then he needed me for this or that or this errand or that errand, or he needed my help with something of his. I had to be of some assistance to him. It was inconvenient for him for me to work, but then if I wasn't at work, then it was criticizing and insulting me for that, So it's just like, okay. And, that's another thing they'll do is they'll always downplay your efforts. Like nothing's ever good enough. Nothing is ever good enough. And then too, just like with the mind games, manipulation, control, really is they want you needy. They want you needy. They want you needing them. They want you wanting them, and they want you needing them. And so it's like they really need you more than you need them. They need you as a supply more than you need them. But it's all manipulation and conditioning and control. Like, that's what they start doing from the beginning, is conditioning you to accept their behavior and always wanting back that person from the beginning that you met in the beginning, that you knew from the beginning, when in reality, you're just never going to get that person back because it was all fake. It was all a mask. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. So yeah, they want to turn you into a needy person, and they do that by, like, when the devaluing starts, they'll start suddenly ignoring your texts and phone calls. They'll start disappearing. They'll just start dwindling off. They'll just start disappearing slowly, but more and more over time, like it to the point where all day, it used to be every couple hours you'd hear from them. What are you doing, babe? What are you doing, babe? If they didn't hear from you and for a couple hours, they're checking on you. What are you doing, babe? But then once they know they have you locked down, then it's not suddenly, but over time, the texts start dwindling, and then all of a sudden you're going all day not hearing from them while they're at work all day. You don't hear from them all day. It's just like, what's happening? And you're just so confused. And then they just manipulate and twist things, and it's just confusing. Okay, let me get back on my notes here. So yeah, they want you needy. And yeah, they want you needy. And then, so I talked about Dr. Ramani says everyone around the narcissist ends up in therapy except for the narcissist, which that was true in my case. I was in therapy and he refused to do therapy with me until, of course, I left. And that's when he decided, therapy. And then he's talking about a ring and an engagement ring now that I've left and I'm gone, because they can't stand to lose a supply, and they cannot stand to lose that control over you. Okay. They can't stand it. I mean, it drives them crazy that someone would actually do the final discard, which really means you have to go no contact. But I mean, we'll get to that point, but you really just need to go no contact. And I know it's hard and it's a struggle, but hopefully this channel can help you. Hopefully I can help you. Hopefully there's other channels, and I'll try to make a post about that so you guys can follow those channels if you need to, because there's tons of helpful content out there to give you strength, okay? Because you just have to do it, okay? So basically, the narcissist really is just only consistent at being inconsistent, okay? They just want to mess with your head, play mind games, keep you guessing, keep you chasing. They need your attention and your reaction, okay? So, all right, I feel like this is a good place to leave off for this episode, because I did run kind of longer than I thought I would. So I feel like we can talk about more in the next episode, because I wanted to get into like the discard and the Hoover, and there's a lot more to get into. And then also, if you have questions or comments, then please do leave them in the comment section, because I'm happy to answer questions and I'm happy to help as many people as I possibly can help, especially if you're in this situation. And, I just hope I can give you the strength and courage to get out of a bad negative situation. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. And my little dog's getting restless here. She's rolling around, so probably need to take her out soon anyway. So yeah, I really want to thank you guys for being here and listening and watching. And I just want you to know I appreciate you so much. And really, it's just my only goal to bring value to you. So that's all I want to do. I just hope I can be helpful and of service to you. So if you found this helpful, please give it a like. And if you feel it in your heart to subscribe, then I would love to have you be a part of the community and join the family. So if you feel it, whatever you feel, whatever's right for you. But I guess that's a good place to wrap it up. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up from here and end it with our affirmation of, this is how I'm going to end them every time. Say it with me. I am healthy. I am happy. I am healed. And I am whole. Okay, we're going to end it there, and I really hope to see you in the next one. So, okay, you guys take care. Hey guys, I just wanted to say thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Live Well with Elle. Please be sure to go follow me on my other social media platforms if you're not already at livewellwithelle_. And I just want to say also a big thank you to my producer, Adam, with Influencer.tv. And if you guys are thinking about starting a podcast of your own, then please email me at livewellwithelle01@gmail.com, and we can help get you started with your very own first podcast. So I just want to say thanks again. I love you. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Live Well with Elle. And I hope to see you there. Thanks. Love you guys.